Well, welcome everybody once again, and a warm welcome and much gratitude to David Ellard Sensei from Kamo Aikido. We have known each other for many, many years. It's been quite a wonderful journey in which we've both gotten only a little bit grayer, and we got a chance to practice together a lot and deepen in this community together, and make some mischief in a number of ways at our Aikido summer camp in Sweden. I'm so grateful that you are going to bring this integration of your work with yoga and Aikido to us. It's been really cool to see you make that shift. I mean, David is a wonderful photographer and has done all kinds of other work previously. He used to travel the world for his work, and then has shifted more and more towards these wellness arts as a primary practice. So turn it over to you, David. Onegaishimasu.
That is true. Brian, thank you. Onegaishimasu. Thank you so very much. So let me just kind of introduce a little what we're going to do, just very briefly, and then we'll bow, and then we will lay on our backs and do some breathing. But so for those of you who don't know me, my name is David. I run an organization in the UK called Mind and Body Movement, and I work mixing Aikido, yoga, and some other mind-body practices, either directly with individuals, but also in businesses. I'm working with Toyota, was before this current circumstance, working with these principles and leadership practices with various aspects of bringing martial arts ideas into a number of different aspects of life. It's obviously difficult at the moment to be training Aikido without contact. I mean, that's the fundamental thing about what I love about Aikido. It's what's special and unique about it, that Atari, that moment of contact between two people. But what I found in my yoga practice after a number of years coming into my Aikido was a little bit of understanding how my body was working in yoga, and the fact that I could take this introspective study of individual bits of my body. Like I could isolate bits in a way I never would in Aikido, because we're always working in the whole. Of course, then you have to bring it back together, but we can take these little moments to look at specific feelings and connections in our bodies that we don't get the chance when someone's thumping us. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a little moment where we work through some exercises, and we will check in and feel what's going on in our body, trying to understand a little bit about some anatomy. And then we'll take some yoga exercises to sort of work with these things, feel these things. And then we will go through some shadow Aikido, solo Aikido type practices, just to see how we get on with that. At the end, we'll take a little stretch, we'll take a little relax, and we'll see how that finds. So I hope that's okay with everyone. So let's just take a moment. Let's come to a kneeling position to start. Or cross-legged, or any other comfortable seat if that's more comfortable for you. Just find a little bit of centering in yourself. If it's comfortable to close your eyes, just let your eyes close. Otherwise, just pop the gaze down towards the floor. Take a couple of breaths, nice and slow. Good. And so let's bow in. So, onegaishimasu.
Onegaishimasu.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Brian. So let's start laying on our backs, either stretched out or in semi-supine, so with our feet flat on the floor, whichever's more comfortable for you. There's no right or wrong way of laying down here. What I'm just going to ask you to do is just rest your hands on your belly. So take a little moment, just wiggle around, and we'll just start by taking a little bit of belly breath. So as we breathe, we're going to breathe in and out through the nose, which is the yogic practice. And we're going to try to let our breaths be even. So the inhale matches the exhale. And just feel a little the experience of when you're breathing deep into the belly, and feeling that that lifting of the hands comes when we inhale. So the sort of traditional breath pattern of breathing in, filling up. And as we exhale, drawing down towards the spine. Just take this a couple of times, just settle into the body. And as you do this, do just check in with your body. So just take a little mental scan, seeing how your feet are feeling today, the shoulders, seeing how your hips are feeling. Not looking for any judgment here, just becoming aware of what it's like to be in your body. We're all going through these strange and crazy times, and we're absorbing this through our bodies as well. So just see how that's feeling, see how it's feeling since you're not training the way you normally do. Don't ask anything of it, just become acquainted gently with you and how you're feeling. We're going to take a little exercise in yoga we call compass breath. We're just going to breathe the 4 directions of the body. So if we imagine that our head is north and our feet are south, east will be to our left and west to our right, we're going to just try drawing the belly button to these directions. So it works like this. We're going to do it together. So take a deep breath in, fill up the belly. As you exhale, squeeze the belly button into the spine and draw it up into the ribs. This is to the north. As we breathe in again, we fill up. As we exhale, we draw the belly button down into the center and then pull it over to the left, using the muscles in the side of the body there. Breathing in, filling up. As we exhale, we draw the belly button down and then draw it south towards the feet, using the Kegel exercises, the pelvic floor. Breathing in. And exhaling, drawing to the right-hand side, to the west. Using the obliques to move over. Breathe in. And breathe out. Just relax a little moment. Take a little wiggle of the body. Come back into yourself again. So as you do this, don't worry too much if particularly the movements to the side feel difficult. That's a certain practice that comes with being able to move in and across. But we're just looking to build a little bit of body awareness here. There's no right or wrong with any of these practices. It's just building awareness of moving these muscles around the center. We're all just tuning in with ourselves a little bit of proprioception practice. Let's go through this twice more. Breathing in, filling up. Exhale, draw the belly button to the north. Breathing in, filling up. Exhale to the left, to the east. Breathing in, filling up. Exhale, drawing to the south, squeezing down, using those lower muscles of the pelvis. Breathing in. Exhaling to the west. Straight round again. Breathing in. Drawing up into the rib cage to the north. Breathing in, filling up. Exhale to the east. Breathing in, filling up. Exhaling, feel that draw down, hug into the center and then squeeze down to the south. Breathing in. And exhale to the west. Very nice. Just let the breath come back to a normal cadence. Again, just take a little movement around. And then let's just bring the knees into the chest. Rest the hands on the knees and just take a few little circles like an infinity sign or a figure of 8. Just to let the hips move a little bit here. Very nice. Yes. All these different camera angles. After all of this, change direction. Please only do what feels right for you and your body. Make any adaptations that you need. Just explore these exercises for you. Just take a little hug gently around the knees. Take a little circle on the lower back. Just moving around one way than the other. So we'll warm up here, just checking in with the body. Now let's roll onto the side. And we're going to come onto the all fours position. So hands under shoulders, shoulder width apart, knees hip distance apart, drawing slightly forward. So they're on the front of the kneecaps, fractionally back from the pelvis. Get a little bit of stability here. Then we're going to breathe in the cat-cow exercise from yoga. So as we breathe in, we start by tilting the pelvis. Belly comes down, the chest comes through, the gaze lifts up. As we exhale, we extend the spine, bringing the chin round and under. We round and arch the back all the way down. Pelvis comes down, the belly comes down, the chest comes through, the gaze lifts, the spine lengthens, but we don't throw the head back. And as we exhale, extend that spine, bring the gaze through the hands, tuck in the chin, and feel the movement all the way through the spine. So take a few more rounds in your own time. And as you do this, try to experience how your spine is moving. The spine, as it flows through this movement, the cow movement coming down, and the cat movement rounding and arching the back like an angry cat. And try to feel if there's any part of the spine that you sort of lose connection with. Sometimes it's the lower back, sometimes the middle, the upper, whatever. Doesn't matter. Just explore. Is there a part of your body that somehow you have almost like an amnesia with, a sensory motor amnesia? You don't feel it moving quite so easy. And if that is the case, spend more time there. Allow the body just to move a little slower so you can feel the movement, maybe in the neck or in that lumbar spine or in the sacrum. And then when you've done it one last time, just come back to the all fours position, and we're going to sink down to the child's pose from yoga. So the bum sinks back towards the heels. We stretch out the arms gently, let the forearms come to the floor, and let the forehead come down. That's the ideal. If your body does something different, if there's more of a gap between bum and heels, or the head doesn't rest on the floor, that's fine. You can even rest the head on hands, one potato, two potato. You always make this work for your body. It doesn't matter what I'm doing or what other people on the feed are doing. From here, we're going to lift up the fingers, so the backs of the hands lift up, and we're going to skitter them across like spiders to the right-hand side, and then lay the hands back down. Gently let the left hip press towards the left heel. The head comes down as far as is comfortable, and we feel this extension down the left side of the body. So we're opening up the intercostals, we're opening up the serratus, we'll be talking about later. We come a little bit into the lower back too, getting some of the obliques there, depending how our body is and where it's tight. Breathing in, lift up, bring the hands back to the middle, take a little wiggle in the center, and then skitter over to the left-hand side. So you're walking on the fingertips like spiders crawling, and then we relax down. Go as far as this feels good for you. Let the head relax down, and again the right hip pressing a little towards the right heel. And just explore how this feeling is. Don't feel you have to be stiff. Allow the body to play and move. Right. Main Aikido teacher, Nevelius Sensei, talks a lot about Mahaho yoga. We've talked about this a lot, and the difference between kind of Chinese yoga and Indian yoga. And with this more sort of Qi Gong based yoga that I bring into mind, there's much more movement and circles than perhaps in traditional yoga. I always mix this in now in my practice. Coming into the center, just let the hands come down to the floor, the head come down to the floor. Just rest for a moment. And then bringing the knees in a little closer, take the hands behind the back, interlace them, and just lift them up to the sky for a moment. Just move the shoulders a little. And then squeezing from the belly, come up into a high kneeling position again. So you're coming up to a position where you're resting up, hips lifted, stretched up to the sky. Very nice. We're gently going to press the hands to the lower back. Give a little bit of support here. We're going to squeeze in with the bum, press the hips a little forward, lifting the chest, lifting the chin a little, looking to the sky. And we're going to relax, come back to a neutral spine. We're going to stretch out the left leg to the side. We're going to stretch the left arm down, looking at the left foot, and then the right arm stretches up and over. So we come into a side stretch. You may need to adjust in your room, find the space that works for you. Very nice. Trying to make sure that the little toe edge of the foot stays down. We're squeezing strong in the core, engaging the muscles of that leg. Keep the positions of the legs the same, straighten the spine, let the hands move round like a yin-yang symbol, so the left hand stretches out to the other side, right comes under. Again, we're working the side body. We're going to be talking about this later. Holding for 3, 2, 1. Relax, come back into the center. Press the hips forward, squeeze the butt, open the chest, draw the shoulders together. Just counter some of that folding forward we have in our modern lives. And then let's take the other side. So the right leg stretches out, trying to get the toes pointing forward and the little toe edge coming down. It's your body. Right hand onto the thigh. Feel that muscle engage, good and strong as the left hand sweeps up and over, and we stretch out that left side of the body. Squeeze into the center, hold strong in your body. Be aware of how it's feeling as we extend. Be aware of what's happening in yourself. This is the advantage of yoga, the introspection. We can check. No one's going to attack us. We don't have to roll. We can just find out what's happening in the body. Sweep the hands back the other way, the yin-yang symbol. Left hand comes under, right hand comes over. This feeling of stretching up, almost like an Ikkyo stretch with the right hand. We get a little movement here. We just counter the stretch we've just had. We hold strong. Very nice. Bring yourself back into the center. One more time. We press the hips forward, squeeze the butt, open the chest. And then we are going to take our last kind of yoga-y type movement. We're going to come to downward facing dog. So the hands come down, tuck the toes, lift the knees, draw the chin through the arms, and lift up the hips a little bit. Keep the knees bent as you just walk out each ankle for me. Just lengthening out. Normally nice when we've been sat a lot in our world at the moment. Mat moving there. And then squeezing strong into the core. Lift up from the pads of the hands. The feet are parallel, pointing forward. We lengthen down the backs of the legs. We draw the chest through the arms. And we enjoy this stretch. Yoga teachers love saying downward dog is a resting pose. It becomes that way. But do try to feel the spirals of the hands as they draw down into the ground and the spirals out of the feet, even as you stay in a linear position. That's the lines of fascia in the body. Bend the knees, gaze forward, have the feet pad towards the hands, and just hang down in a forward folded position. Train the head with by taking opposite hands with opposite elbows, and just sway the neck from side to side. And then let that movement start, the spine moving, the arms moving, and take a movement like a rag doll swinging in the wind. So the spine moves, the hips moves, the knees move, the ankles move. Allow yourself to circle and bounce and shake. Let go of any tension from this week, this 10-week period. And then bring hands to the shin, squeeze into the belly as you roll yourself up to standing. And just take a moment standing with soft stance, soft knees, open the posture a little, take a breath, and just take the little rotation exercise around the axis, just to gently spiral, finding our center, finding us. Letting that move gently, letting the hands come to the center. Breathe in, open the chest, drawing shoulders together. Exhale, coming together. One more, breathe in. And exhale, come together. Good. Okay, gang. So take a moment, take a relax, take a shake out, take a sip of water if you need, if it's hot where you are. We've done our basic movements. I'm going to quickly grab something to show you. There we go. Okay. So I debated doing sort of screen shares here, but it gets a little bit too like the day job. So before we do this, I just want you to stand up, and we're just going to do Yokkamanuchi. Okay, we'll bring it back to some Aikido now. And as you do your Kamanuchi, I just want you to take the movement a few times, just however me saying do your Kamanuchi feels to you. Okay, so stepping, doing it from stationary, whatever that feels like, just take a few movements of taking Yokomen in your time. When you've done that a couple of times, take the hand that's not doing the Yokomen and just place it on the body, on the shoulder, on the back, on the hip of the arm that's doing the Yokomen, and just do that kind of a few times on each side. And just try to feel that as you're doing the Yokomen, what is happening in the body to make Yokomenuchi happen? What's happening in our hip? What's happening in our back? What's happening in our shoulder? So just kind of go through a few Yokomens like this. No right, no wrong. Just trying to think about what anatomically, what am I doing when Yokomen is actually happening? So hopefully, if we pause for a moment and we come to the screen, okay, I want to see if you can zone in on this. Yeah, that looks okay when I see that. So there is a muscle here that I'm specifically wanting to think about at this moment. So we're going to divide up and look at a couple of specific muscles on this occasion in this class. This doesn't mean that only one muscle is used, okay, but it means we're going to think about these on this occasion. So this is the serratus anterior. Okay, it's sometimes called the boxer's muscle. And anyone who practices martial arts, that may kind of go, oh, okay, if it's called the boxer's muscle, what's going on? Why should I know about that? And it's a deep lying muscle that comes sort of around the body here. You can see, hopefully here, that it connects, there's my finger, okay, it connects into the scapula at the back, okay, and then comes round onto the ribs. And so it's involved a lot when we lift our arm to the side, but also when we're moving forward a little bit here. So how can we make sure, or how can we think about using this muscle or engaging with this muscle? When it lies very deeply, we just lift our arms up, and when we were moving here, we can probably feel the shoulder moving, we can probably feel the hip moving, but trying to feel these deeper muscles is harder. So we're going to do an exercise. We'll do it on the floor. You can do it on a wall as well in your own time. So we're going to come back to the all fours position with me, everybody, and try to get a bit of ground that's got not too much give. So if you have got carpet, maybe your wall will be better. It doesn't matter. And you're going to put your hands sort of shoulder distance apart. So either laying down, or sorry, all fours position, or up against the wall, the same feeling. Okay, and the feeling you're going to make is without moving your hand. The first movement, you're going to open them like you're trying to lift the elbows to the side, an external rotation. This movement, you're going to drag them down towards you. And the third movement is you're going to reach into the ground or into the wall. Hands don't move. Okay, so for fours position, the first movement is we try rotating the hands outwards. Like if we're on a wall, we're trying to pull the wallpaper off. If we're on a yoga mat, we're trying to screw the yoga mat up between us. So we've got this lifting feeling of the arms. Now we try pulling the hands down towards us. We don't move them, they're stuck. We engage the muscles that would move when we pull down, and then you press, you push away, like you're trying to reach into the floor or into the wall. And you're trying, when you do this, to feel the engagement of this muscle here. This set of muscles, or this particular specific muscle, lying underneath the latissimus dorsi here, on the ribs coming in from the shoulder blade. So just do this a couple of times. Okay, and just try to sort of feel the mind-body connection. Can we connect with this? So as we open, we feel the arms rotating, we draw down, we reach in. It may take a few kind of runs through this little exercise. And this exercise of moving out, moving down, and reaching in, this is a physiotherapy exercise. It's about isolating this, and you can hold it as a static hold. It's one of the ways to start building a connection here. In a gym, you can work in a couple of different ways, but here we're just trying to feel the muscle, become connected with it. So just one more time, feel that the rotating out, the drawing down, the reaching in. So we feel that muscle inside within that torso. Okay, Come back up, take a little shake. So when we now make our yokumen, I want you just to feel that area of the body. So you can have the hand on it just to kind of take a few moments, just reaching in and trying to feel that the movement now is less in the shoulder and more beginning. It's a deep. It's the boxer's muscle, because in boxing, when you throw a hook, this is the muscle to use.
The audio is going in and out a bit, David. David,
this movement, this tension generate. Oh,
David, we're having audio.
Okay, testing. 1, 2, 3.
The video's gone dark. The audio got choppy. Your audio's better now. The video is still great. Oh, there we go.
Okay, Brian, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, we're okay now.
Okay, I'm just going to try this directly on the phone. Okay, hopefully it will pick up. I'll just pitch my voice a little louder. Does that sound okay, Brian?
It sounds fine. Yeah.
Okay, let's go with that.
You want me to spot?
Okay, so we go. When did you lose me, Brian?
You were about to have us feel that the movement was coming from that other muscle.
In the Yokumanuchi.
Yeah, the yokumen.
So try this in the Yokumanuchi exercise. So feel a couple of times underneath here, okay, and then just take your yokumen, however that is, but try to feel the difference between a yokumen that comes from the shoulder only, okay, and a yokumen that's driving from here. If you have any boxing practice, you can take the same feeling trying to feel a haymaker or a hook and feel it coming from here. But the yokumen is the Aikido version of this movement. So we're coming in and we're trying to bring in the torso. And we have this when we're throwing too. So if we pause for a moment and we think about throwing in Iramanagi, we're often told that throwing in Iramanagi, it's not about the shoulder and it's not in the shoulder. And when I think of some of my senior senseis, Tissier Sensei or Nevelius Sensei, they had this beautiful feeling of like throwing the whole of you from their torso. And of course, it's not just this, but partly it's using these deep lying muscles of the body and the torso and the back to generate the movement. So if we imagine that we take an Iramanagi, so we'll take it from my hamni or whatever version you wish, we step round, we come into our Iramanagi, and you can sort of feel, if I throw with the shoulder, has a certain feeling, but if I can try to connect here to this serratus, then I can engage this part of my body in the throw. And you might feel you get this kind of soft power. So very much this feeling I associate with Nevelius Sensei, when he just takes my belly and throws me 1,000 miles away, because it's the whole of the body. It becomes much less about the arm. Of course, we're isolating, and we wouldn't do that in reality, but we can just explore, can we, when we're taking our Iramanagi feeling, can we move not just from the shoulder, not just from the hip, of course we have the hip, but this part of the torso between? Can we connect that into our body and make that happen? So run round your Iramanagi a few times. Try to feel both. As Endo Sensei says, you know, do it wrong. Of course, it's not wrong, but experiment with both feelings. What happens if I just use shoulder? What happens if I try using here? Can I start bringing hip, torso, shoulder together? All of these kind of things. But just use this feeling of the connection on the floor, the stretching we did in the yoga, to try to draw into this point. So make your Iramanagi coming, thinking about this part of your body, your serratus. Very nice. So does it feel different on the shoulder? Does it feel different if we try to connect to the body? Can you bring the mind-body connection in the introspective practice to feeling that torso? Okay. So let's come back together. And just take a little shake. It'll bounce up and down. Okay, breathe in, stretch up. Exhale, bring hands underneath. Take a little shake out. And let's settle, finding the access. Just take a couple of breaths with me. Beautiful. Now again, if you'd like to take a sip of water or anything like that, do. Okay, I just want to show you another muscle. I think we'll probably just look at two. Based on time, I have more depending upon what we're going on to. But the next muscle that we're going to take a look at when people are back with us is our friend the psoas. Now this is one of those ones, the psoas muscle, that gets, you know, it's got a bit of press going. It's got a good agent, the psoas muscle. You sort of hear it babbled about, you hear it engaged with, you see Facebook articles about why it's giving you back pain and such things. Okay. The interesting thing about the psoas muscle is it's the muscle that connects from the spine through the pelvis to the femur. And that's why it's unique. It's the only one that does that. On the right hand side of the diagram, you can see that the hip is covered, both ball and socket joints are covered with hundreds of muscles. Okay, loads of muscles moving around, loads of connective tissue. But most of them are just wrapping around in this way you see on the other side. But looking on the side where we just have the psoas, okay, the psoas comes from the lower sort of four vertebrae, threading through the pelvis and coming to the inside of the femur. And this is interesting because it means when we're making movements with a torsion here, okay, we're connecting our spine to our leg, and it's this connection that's going on. Of course, fascia is very trendy. There's lots of stuff going on. Okay, these big sheaths, but this is a huge tether between these two, and it's an interesting one to experiment with. So we're going to feel that muscle with a couple of yoga movements. So I want you to start standing feet hip distance apart at the front of a mat or your whatever kind of area you're going to be on. Okay. Then we're going to step the left foot back into what I would call a high lunge position. So your right knee is going to be over your right ankle. Your left heel is lifted and pressing back. If you put your hands on your hips a moment, you'll see that a little bit, the left hip has pressed back. It's just gone a little bit further backwards. It's okay. I want you to square the hips. Okay, so you draw that a little forward. And now, like you're drawing six shooters, using your fingers on the lower part of the hips, just tilt the pelvis so the lower part comes forward, the upper part comes back. And you feel the extension move to the top of the quadricep, okay, but you're also extending the top part of that psoas. So just get stable here, find your balance, make sure that right knee is over the right ankle, not in, not out, not forward, not back. And then I want you to breathe in, stretch up your hands, interlace your fingers, and press your palms up to the ceiling. Good. So we've extended that psoas backwards, and now we're going to breathe in, squeeze in the belly, and stretch over to the right-hand side. Press the palms to the right sort of corner of your ceiling or something like that. So we're trying to lift the spine up and extend it over to the right. So now we're lengthening the psoas in that lower portion of the spine. So the tightness you're feeling coming through the pelvis, for many people, depends, will be your psoas muscle. Okay, breathe in, come back to the center. Here's get a little bit of yoga. Exhale, fold the hands down. Step back to a plank or press-up position. Come down to the floor your way, knees first, or chin and chest down together. Untuck the toes, 10 toenails on the floor. Just lift up the spine. Just take a little sway here in cobra pose. Extend the spine forward, look to the left foot. Come back to the center, extend the spine, look to the right. Let the chin come to the floor, bend the knees, just let the knees swish from side to side. Like you're laying on your bed, reading a book. And then bring the feet back down. Come up to all fours. Extend out the spine a little. And then you can lift up your downward dog and walk forward, or just come to the same starting position, your choice. So the starting position of feet hip distance apart, second and third toes pointing forward, and stepping that right foot back. So we're going to have that same feeling on the other side. The right foot steps back, the heel presses down. We make our adjustments. Left knee over left ankle. Should be able to see the first two toes if you're not wearing gi bottoms. Hands come to the hips. Gently tuck the pelvis and square the hips. So we're extending into the top of the quadricep, the insertion of the quadricep into the pelvis, but we're lengthening the psoas too. And we're going to breathe in, let the hands stretch up above the head, interlace the fingers back so the hands up this time. Breathe in, squeeze in the belly, stretch to the sky. Exhale, extend and lengthen over to the left. And don't feel that on the left, the ribs are crushing down. You're lifting up and out. The spine is extending and lengthening over. So when we remember the diagram, the vertebrae are just increasing the movement of the psoas, the extension that's tied into the spine on this side, the muscle that inserts in here. We breathe in, 3, 2, 1, come to the center, bring the hands down, bring the feet together, take a shake out. So that's one way to experience this muscle. There is a second version that we're going to do here, changing the position of the leg. And I just want you to feel the two different versions of this. So, same start, feet hip distance apart, and we're going to step the left foot back again. And this time we put the left foot down on the floor. The feet are still hip distance apart. If we were drawing the left hip forward, it would come forward. That's where it starts. But the toes are now pointing at about 10 o'clock on a clock face. Put your left hand on your left leg. And I want you to press that left leg to the floor. So the little toe side of the foot is ground down. Then bring the hands to the hips, and you'll see that the left hip is, of course, back. Draw that left hip forward. So you're drawing that left hip forward, keeping right knee over right ankle. Immediately here, you're feeling some engagement. Have we lost sound again, Brian?
No, we're good, I think.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so we feel this movement in the top of the femur. Again, you can tuck the pelvis, it will create an increase. And this time we'll keep the right hand on the right hip, but the left hand will come up and we'll take an Ikkyo type movement over to the right hand side. It's lengthening out and moving. And just explore what happens. Try to imagine that muscle we just looked at on the diagram coming through from the spine onto the femur through the hip. As we're extending, as we're spiraling this leg backwards. And keep that back foot ground down. Keep that little toe edge pressed away. And that has this external rotation of the femur that changes the psoas. Come into the center, bring that left leg forward, give it a little bit of a shake out. So we've held it there quite some time. And we'll do the same on the right leg so we even up. Step the right leg back. Now we're pointing the right toes at about 2 o'clock on the clock face. Hip distance apart, left knee over left ankle, and squaring the hips. This time the left hand comes up and we come over into the Ikkyo. Again now, just try moving things. Try drawing the right hip a little forward. Try taking the left hip a little bit back. Try tilting the pelvis. Try lengthening the spine some more. Try pressing that left foot down, spiraling that back heel away. So in these positions, these yoga positions, you can kind of take a little bit of experiential feeling of what it's like to be in your body, making these micro movements, and what does that do for you in a way we don't have time to do in Aikido. Okay, relax, bring the legs together, take a little bit of a shake out. So we played with kind of Yokuman and we played with Iramanagi before, so we'll stick with Iramanagi as a solo kind of exercise. So we were thinking about throwing from here, but now when we think about Iramanagi, think about this movement in the legs. So if I meet Iramanagi, apparently I'm meeting it from a showman, Uchi here, I come round, I take my partner here, and when I'm throwing, I want to have this kind of feeling of spiraling from my back leg now. This is sometimes when we have the lift or something like this, but the back leg has this spiral, it drives through my grounding, and I can add this feeling so I have a connection all the way from my foot through the psoas, through the serratus, through my partner. So the whole body comes in. It's the same teaching a boxer gives about how to throw a powerful punch. It comes from the foot through the psoas, through the serratus, into the strike. So have a little play with this. Your version of Shomanuchi Uemanagi, coming down, finding the space in your room so you can throw, and feeling the movement in the hip, in the grounding of that back foot, and that feeling of making a twist, a torsion, engaging that muscle that comes through. Now, this is not the only way to do this exercise. It's not the way to always throw Uemanagi, of course. It's just an experiment to go, okay, here's what this muscle does in the body. Okay, it connects lower half and upper half. So if we learn to experience it, then maybe we just become a little more aware of how, when we're in the moment, we can generate that extra little bit of power by using this torsion in the body, these spirals in the legs. So we can spiral for power and then move for lightness. So we come up, we're coming to our Uemanagi, and trying to feel that back leg, engaging with the floor, maybe that spiraling down feeling, coming through the serratus, flowing from the torso. So it becomes less separate. One of the dangers I find in my own practice is when I study individual muscles, I can get a little obsessed about that muscle. But it's always important to remember we have to put it back together. It's not just the plantar pose, it's not just the psoas pose, it's everything in between. But we can try to feel these connections, these lines. They start to talk about these feeling of fascia meridians that you may have heard been talked about in yoga for years, and I know some martial arts teachers have started talking about them recently as well. It's just ways of thinking about the connectivity through the body. It's not magic, it's been known about for huge amounts of time. And certainly, sort of in modern thought, anyone coming from the Feldenkrais school, like California, Ida Rolf, Thomas Hahn in the somatic system, have all been using these principles. It's just ways of experiencing it in our body. Let's change to Uchikai Tanagi. So shake off, come to a night point again, perhaps present for Katatadori, come underneath, take Uchikai Tanagi, and now think about throwing again with that back leg driving through the initial movement. Then, of course, the leg moves, it's light. We don't want to get stuck. That's the complication of Aikido. We're in a live situation. We're not holding these poses the way we would for in yoga. But allow your body to have these spirals of movement. Try to feel, what do I have here? When I've got my leg on the floor and I'm using that turn of my hip, okay, that is the psoas. That's my spine connecting to my femur. And if I can ground that foot, if I can spiral it down, I can get this moment to come through. Thank you, David. I appreciate that. So allow this to float through and just take a few more movements of this. Play with it a little in your own time. It's there on all these movements. It's actually there on the uki movements too. If you think about ukiing from Yoka Minucci, this feeling of coming back to your partner, that's the back leg coming through. We're using both the serratus and that because of course we are. We're using our whole body. But it's an interesting feeling just to isolate this using these yoga exercises. Okay, let's come back together. We're going to come down. We do a little bit of work on the floor with some core muscles. Just try a little bit of work on some rolling, just maybe some things to take away to your own practice and dojo. And then we'll settle down at the end just for a little bit of stretching down there. Okay, so take a little bit of a shake out. Let the body kind of relax down. Okay, and nothing fancy. Just bring yourself down to the floor in a comfortable way for you. So bring yourself down, and we're going to come down, sitting on our bum with our feet flat down on the floor. So we're going to take a, we're going to take a yoga pose here, a traditional yoga pose that we use for engaging the abdominal muscles. And we're going to see that, we're going to take a little variation of it, and we're going to talk about how that plugs into a little bit of ukemi. So we'll take 3 versions of this first version. Take the hands behind the legs, squeeze in the belly, draw the belly in and bring the shins up to parallel to the floor. use the hands to support. Okay, so keep the hands here and try to feel that the belly button comes in and a little bit up into the spine, and we draw the obliques into the spine to create stability. It's not strength. I really rarely talk about core strength, but stability. If we think about the Dantian or the Hara, we're hugging around it like that little pearls there, and we're packing it, we're protecting it. Okay, relax down. Okay, you can just lift up the hips a little bit if it feels like you've kind of got a little bit of cramp coming in tight. When you do that, it's always fine just to stretch out if you wish. Second version of it, same starting point. Take behind the thighs, come up to the same point. Squeeze in the belly. Try to take that nice tight feeling there. Now I want you to extend your hands beside the legs. To try to feel this nice V shape being held there. Looking forward and focusing, being aware of the sheath of muscles. Okay, I don't have time to show you the muscles, but there's kind of 2 layers of muscles on the front, 2 layers on the side, and there's thin sheets of muscles on the back. These are the core that wrap around the lumbar spine. Relax that, fold forward, give yourself a little shake, and lift up. So this is boat pose in yoga. We're going to take a third version of this. Now, these can get quite hard. Okay, so if you want to stay with one of these previous versions, please absolutely do. Okay, for people who want to go for the full practice, then be my guest. It's not right or wrong, it doesn't mean you're good or bad, it's just a way of experiencing your body. So we're going to come up to that same starting point, shins parallel, going to extend out the hands. We're going to stretch out the legs. And then we're going to stretch the legs forward and allow the spine to come back to it's a few inches off the floor. And then I want you to stretch your right hand down to the right foot, and then the left hand down to the left foot. You're only a few inches off the floor on both, and you do that a few times on each side. So this is quite hard work, and if you need to do a variation of it, be my guest. And then come back up to the V shape if you can take that, and then let the feet come down, fold forward, hug. Make any groany or grumpy noises that you feel the need to make. Perhaps just allow yourself to lay down on the floor now. Just lift up the hips a couple of times. Just stretch out that front body a little bit. So you just have that squeezed in V. So when you were doing that, to hold, say, a hollow body hold like this, particularly when we start dancing it around or making variations in it, we have to be stable in the core. And the reason I'm doing this is these are nice exercises for feeling that stability. And one of the things I find when I travel and I do the feather fall, like very soft and very quiet, people often say, oh, that's beautiful. Is it just technique? And it is, but part of that technique is holding this area stable. So what we're going to do is, with as much space as you've got, and I don't have a huge amount of space here in my room, we're going to try to take a forward roll and control our legs through the whole time using those same muscles we were just thinking about. And so just hover off the floor for a moment and then reset yourself to the other side. So rolling forward, bringing the hands down and holding the same hollow body position. This ability to move left and right, because in a real fall we'd be going around a little bit. So when you're falling, just do this a couple more times, then we'll get down to a little bit of stretch at the end. So when you're falling, this stability here is what stops the legs from thumping the floor. It's what allows you to grip round your partner in the Viramaranagi fall. It's what allows us to hold stable in ourselves. So having a stable, able core is really important. It doesn't mean pure strength. It means being aware. How do we hold our legs up here? So many variations, so many different practices. But if you just think about this, and again, try to connect in with this feeling, the spine's in the middle, and you've got these sets of muscles in 4 directions that we can hug in and draw in. Don't forget the back. Okay, all 4 directions. Okay, I wanted to throw that in at the end, and partly because I can never do any class without doing a little bit of core work. It's sort of my basic nature. So let's just come down to our semi-supine again, coming down to the floor. We'll stretch out that front body together. So feel the feet hip distance apart on the floor and heels about a hand's distance away from the bum. As you squeeze in, lift up the hips, take the hands underneath the butt and just lift the hips up to the sky a little bit. Just hold this. Squeeze the glutes, let the hands come down, press up, hold up, squeeze the muscles of the legs to the bones of the legs, and then exhale. Try to feel each spine, each vertebrae coming down onto the floor. As you settle down, just allow your body to come to semi-supine and feel the little gap in the lower back. So as you lay here, the feet are on the floor, hips are on the floor, shoulders are on the floor, but depending on the curve of your spine, the lower back is slightly lifted. So as we breathe in, tilt the pelvis towards you so the lower back touches the floor. As you exhale, gently, very small movements, tilt the pelvis away so there's a slightly bigger gap. Breathe in, tilt the pelvis towards, like you shut that little lower back area off, no space for a spider. Exhale, you tilt forward. This runs all the way through the body, but we're not going to do the whole exercise. Enough space for a small mouse. One more time, breathing in, coming back into the floor. And exhale, rolling away. Coming back to neutral. So that's an exercise from Hani and somatics. Very nice after you've done work with the hips, just to kind of check now as you lay here. Am I feeling even? Is the weight more to one side than the other? A little forward, a little back. Always nice just to come and try to bring a sense of equilibrium to the center, to the hara, to the hips. Let's stretch the piriformis a little. So we put the left foot onto the right knee, like you're crossing your legs, and then draw that thigh in. Try reaching around and interlacing the fingers. It may be more comfortable to take the clothing and just relax for a moment, just settle in here. If it feels like there's not enough of a stretch, don't pull with the arms, lift the shoulders, draw them towards the ears, relax them down. And then with the left knee, maybe take it a little towards the bum, a little towards the other foot, away from the head, just squaring the hips. You can adjust the right leg as well with all of these positions. I always encourage my students to be curious, to be intrigued about their own body. What's happening with it? How is it today compared to last week? How does my body move? How does it respond to these things? Where does it have tightness? Where it's tight, we need to mobilize it, but where is it over loose? There we need to strengthen it. Hypermobility is as much of a problem in particularly yoga, but Aikido too. Stability is what we need. Let's let that right foot come down to the floor, stretch the arms out a little, and let the left knee draw that right knee across over to the side. Just take a gentle, gentle twist down the body. Just relax the left knee. You're not pulling here, you're not pushing into the twist. Always be careful of the spine. Just allow that to roll through the body a touch. Then squeeze into the belly, come back up to the center. Always move with a stable core. Switch the legs round. Last thing. Draw the left knee in. And the same feeling. Take your version of this, then try just to relax into it. Adjust the knee, adjust the shin. And if you want a little more, the shoulders can draw up. And then come back down to the floor. What you're trying not to do is pull with the biceps and the triceps. So a little bit like Aikido, and here's where I take Aikido into yoga. We don't want to have struggle. We don't want to have tension at the point of contact. The rest of the body moves, because then the body doesn't get scared. It doesn't get nervous. By moving the shoulders, we can just allow a little more movement to come into the hips. If we start fighting with the arms, we put tension into the body, and we're trying to get rid of that. So again, adjust the position of the body, the right knee, the right hip. Just explore. Get rid of some of that tension that comes from the sitting we're all doing so much at the moment because we have to be inside. Let the foot come down and then let the right knee gently draw the left across into a gentle twist. Hands are stretched out like a crucifix or like a cactus, depending upon the space. And just feel iliotibial band, that line of fascia from knee to hip. Maybe a little in the sacroiliac there, coming up into the side, a touch of the obliques. Might get it in the intercostals, even up to the serratus actually. Opening up the pec minor between the chest and the shoulder. So you can explore all of these feelings in the body. Always encourage an interest and curiosity about this. Draw into the center. Bring the feet down. Draw the knees into the chest, gang. Just make a little circle on the lower back. If it feels nice, you can make a little hug shape, like a little egg. And then we're going to roll over. And if it's comfortable for you to kneel, then please join me in Seiza. If you prefer to sit cross-legged, on a chair, on a ball, any other position you'd like to sit in, that's fine. Just come to kneeling. Let the hands rest in the lap. Take a moment just to check in with your posture. So feel a little how the spine is, how the weight is. Perhaps the chin could do with tucking in a touch. So we come a little more to the center of the axis. That's very common in modern bodies. Feel that little thread lifting the head to the sky. Let the shoulders settle on the muscles of the back. So roll them back. Feel the lats get involved. And sit restful but awake as we just come to the breath. And to finish off, we're going to take 6 breaths together as a group. Syncing up even as we connect from different parts of the world, different countries, different areas. Brought together by our love of Aikido and I want to be together to support ourselves, our practice, to support Brian. So let's take a deep breath in. Let it all out. And now together with me. Breathe in for 1. And out for 1. Breathe in for 2. And out for 2. Breathe in for 3. And out for 3. Breathe in for 4. And out for 4. Breathe in for 5. And out for 5. Breathe in for 6. And out for 6. Your breath return to a normal cadence. Just staying quiet for a moment. Make a little check of the body. How are you feeling? A little check of the mind, the feeling. A little check of yourself, all of you. And then gently open the eyes if they're not already. Smile. And we will bow and we will say Dhamma Arigato Gozaimasu and Namaste both. Thank you all for coming and joining this. It's been my pleasure to teach. I hope you got some value. I'll lurk here for a couple of minutes before going and having my dinner. But thank you all so much. It's been lovely to do this and feel connected to people all over the world. So thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. unmute themselves. I don't think it's possible to unmute.
If anyone has any queries or questions, that's completely fine. Otherwise, I will let people wrap up. I think you'd have to unmute yourself, technology being what it is.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Ah, Kirsty, hello.
Hi. So the psoas is off. I think there's in the trauma literature. There's Can you say a little bit about your Aikido understanding of that?
Goodness. Okay, that's a big stuff. Have you been reading The Body Knows the Score any time recently?
Probably. I mean, mostly I tell my patients to read it because I have already read it, but.
Gotcha. Yeah, I asked because.
So there's something about the psoas in there? I'll
Yeah.
have to go back and look. Okay.
It's one. So in yoga theory, so Ayurvedic theory, it's commonly expressed that trauma is held in the hips. This is kind of like for me, it's a metaphor. It's something to do with the tightening here. And so we teach in yoga that hip openers will often have emotional releases. Now that's one of those things that you have to take in a certain perspective. But when you're open with it, but when you then start reading some of the work that's been done with release therapies such as TRE and some of the other therapies with the shaking type therapies, a lot of these do tend to emanate from the hip area. So it seems to be that there is a correlation between these tightnesses here and working in that area to reduce an emotional response that happens. I can't begin to explain why. I've read bunches of stuff on it. No one seems to have like this is a reason, but for me, working to release this just makes me feel good. It's like just anecdote. I'm not going science, but when it's tight, it feels bad. When I can move from that area, and it's like in Aikido, if you think when people move stiff and tight in their hips, nothing flows. Like everything has to come through here. And the psoas is this point that connects the top and the bottom of the body. So when it's tight, when we're tight here, somehow we're disjointed. Like our body can't work together. And I think that trauma is a strong word, but it causes like a disconnection in the body. And Aikido is all about creating this connection. So when we can create these flows and connections through the body, it makes us feel better. It makes our partner feel better. They don't feel the tension. So this is sort of my perception of it, but there is a lot of literature on this stuff when the psoas comes up in it.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Ah, Cesar, you could turn up. Good. Anybody else?
David, I really like how I sent you that message, but how you dissected the body out and then let's bring it together and integrate it as one. I thought that was a really nice method of helping people to integrate their whole body into Aikido or yoga. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Claire. It definitely comes from my experience and going down a rabbit hole the wrong way of when I first started doing this, or when I first started sort of thinking about, so I've been practicing Aikido much longer than I've done yoga. But when I got into yoga, I began to be very interested in this introspection element and I studied to become a teacher and I drilled into lots of anatomy. So then I started getting focused on these specific bits of anatomy and sort of lost the fact that there's no one, we're always connected, the whole thing. So if you're just focusing entirely on what your calf muscle does, you kind of miss the fact that the rest of the body's tied to it too. And this is where these fascia lines and connective tissue lines come through. So it's something in the last couple of years I've started going, anytime I'm drilling into something, I also have to think about how that ties into the rest of the body. So we can break down in these yoga poses or these practices and be introspective on one point, but we have to put it back together again. We have to then go, okay, and how does this fit into the whole flow of this?
Yeah.
That's what I'm working. That's what I'm working on.
Body interdependence is a
exactly
term.
Yeah, exactly so. We never use bits of our body in isolation. We shouldn't do that. But it's interesting to try to experience them, for me, independently, so you can have an understanding of them and then wrap them back in.
Yeah, thank you.
Otherwise, everything's just a bit of a mess.
May I ask a question, please?
Of course, sir.
Thank you very much. It was great to see all the anatomy and how you put together our upper body, lower body, and all that. You said about meridians at some point. Are you also using energies through these meridians? Or you said about Endo Sensei, Tissier Sensei, they never talk about energy in that respect, about meridians and all that. Can you please?
They don't. The specific element I practice Shiatsu, I practice Qi Gong, and when you get into yoga, that's now a Vedic system, and that has a sort of different perspective to energy and the kriyas and the sheaths of energy that come through. But something I encountered in yoga maybe 5 or 6 years ago was somebody talking about fascia. Sort of has become a bit of a buzzword, a bit trendy in some ways. Something we always like to forget. We've got bones and muscles, and fascia becomes the most important thing. But it is this kind of connective web that goes over. And what someone was pointing out when I was reading and studying was that a lot of these sort of lines of connective fascia follow through the traditional meridians that come from acupuncture, shiatsu, etc. So the gallbladder meridian follows all the way down, and it struggles up these movements that we're working on. So as comes through the iliotibial and such things. How we then think about that in energetic terms comes to a matter of expression. So for me, I tend not to talk too much about it when I'm teaching, particularly when I'm teaching yoga, because I'm specifically trying to teach yoga in a very accessible way. And I don't want to do that. If I'm teaching a very specific type of yoga class at a yoga studio and people are more wanting to work in an energetic way, then I will bring those ideas more in there. And that's the same in Aikido. I tend not to talk too much about it. It's my own practice.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So it's there, but I tend to keep it.
Yeah. Thank you. I got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for attending. That's a fine beard you've got there, my friend. Better than mine. I'm jealous. Anybody else? Okay, fabulous. Brian, I'll hand over to you, my friend. Thank you for inviting me. I want to say thank you to Brian for putting these on. It's so much appreciated. It makes us all hopefully feel a little connected together, Aikidoka in different parts of the world. And I very much hope I can get hold of some of you on a mat at some point soon.
You're very welcome. And David, thank you so much for a really wonderful class and for so generously offering it.
No, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. So everyone, take care of yourselves. It's a crazy time. So look after yourselves, look after the people around you, and hopefully I'll see you at some point soon. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
Cheers. Thank you, Brian.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good morning.
Good morning, Cesar. That's right. Good night.
Hi, Brian. Thanks again.
You're welcome, Jacqueline. Taki, and hey, here's to good day.
Good day.
Good day. Bye, Paul.